Hi, we're Ethan and Sarah. We've been living abroad in Mexico for 3 years now and have experienced so much. We want to share more of our life and journey with you as we create more memories together. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy this next episode with us.
Quarantine with me, and today we are going to be making salsa. I've been waiting to make this salsa for a while because I could not find this specific brand anywhere in the grocery stores for the last few months, few weeks. And so this is actually a different flavor. I've never used this specific type. So typically this is an enchilada sauce. And with the enchilada sauce, you just mix it in with essentially a pico de gallo, which is just chopped up onion, lime, tomato, cilantro, and then you mix this in and it makes a really good fresh salsa. So that's what we're gonna be making today. So I really wanna share with you all some knowledge on how to, that was a weird way to say that. So I'd really like to share with you guys how to cut specific vegetables while I'm making this. So that is our tomato. Oh, this is a Roma tomato, as well as an onion, how to properly cut an onion, the best way to mince it up, and then also some little tricks and tips with limes. And with this, we are just gonna pop in and let's start with tomatoes. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna be able to cut into, what is that? About 1 centimeter thick. And you keep it even. This will give nice, even pico de gallo as we're working. And for the ends, just be careful when you are cutting that you have a very sharp knife to cut through the skin and this, or else it's just gonna sort of flatten out directly. Or if you don't have a sharp knife with you, go ahead and just use a serrated knife to cut through the skin and then the soft flesh of the tomato. A lot of people like to chuck the ends of this. I think that there's still a lot of really good, just a lot of things that we could use, a lot of good meat on this. So I don't like to waste a lot of things. So you can either just cut all the way through into little dice and just use that in your mixture, in your salsa. You're really not gonna notice it at all. Or you can just chuck it if that grosses you out. But today, I think we're just gonna go ahead and use it. So I like to get the little stacks of discs. And be sure to use a claw method so that when you're cutting, you're not actually gonna cut off your little fingers. And then I like to hold my knife by the blade, because if you have a different kind of knife, sometimes if you cut like this, you don't have a ton of control. It also feels like you're doing a sword. And then sometimes if you have a pretty cheap knife, the blade and the handle can become detached, and that would be bad if you're just having a random knife flying everywhere when you're cooking. So you wanna go ahead and use your claw method and just make 4 even dices along the side. And when you're done with that, go ahead and rotate it. And then you get this really nice even dice throughout. So just continue on doing that with the rest of your tomatoes. And don't go fast if you're not comfortable with dicing or using your knife, if you're just not very confident in your knife skills, and that's okay. Practice makes perfect. And so we just want to keep getting all of those together until we cut up all of our tomatoes. This recipe today, I don't know how much it produces, enough for my husband and I to eat on throughout the week. But I'm gonna use, what is this? It doesn't say. I don't know, it'll probably give you about 4 cups of salsa. But I'm gonna be using 5 Roma tomatoes, and if I think that I need more, it just doesn't seem enough when I balance it out with all the other stuff, we can just go ahead and improvise, and you can always add more. So just keep that in mind. So I have our tomatoes chopped. I ended up grabbing a sixth tomato. And so, I don't know, I would say that's between 3 and 4, 5 cups. We'll go with 4 and split the difference. So you wanna make sure that they have nice, small, you don't need to mince it and make it really, really tiny. I mean, you could also definitely do this recipe in a blender, but I just like the texture of just the chopped tomatoes. And tomatoes are the main part of your dish, so you wanna make sure that you have a ton to start with. And so, yeah, this is probably gonna be about 70 to 80% of our salsa. moving on, I'm gonna go with, what is this? A red onion. So with red onions, a really easy way to cut it, pretty foolproof, is that we're going to cut both of the ends off, and you want to make sure that the onion, if you can see, is just stabilized in the middle. It's the apex. It's the apex of your head, but the apex of the onion, so that you're not like cutting it like this, so that you've got uneven sides. And then just go ahead and flip it. Do the same, just cut off the very ends. Whew, this is a ripe onion. And then lay it flat down on one of the sliced sides and cut it in half so that you have two moon pieces. And these are uneven, but c'est la vie. We're gonna use the smaller one because onions do have a spicy flavor to them, you know? Ooh, and you can smell it. But this salsa it's a nuevo sabor, which is a new flavor, and it is habanero. Never used this specific one, but I'm assuming it's gonna be spicy. And so we're just gonna take it easy on the onion, and we can always add some more in. So I like to take off just this extra layer. You don't have to check this. You can always put it in the freezer, use it for, I can't think. Use it for just other dishes you can throw in. You can roast it, whatever you want. You don't need to waste this. So I'm just gonna set this aside, and I'll probably use it in a stew or soup or broth later. So now that we have our onion, lay it, the part that you cut, flat side down, and then just go ahead, be very gentle, and you want to have a sharp knife. Make little moon slices, just cutting all the way down the side. And when you get to the angle, just sort of angle it a bit, but be careful because your knife can collapse and you can actually cut yourself. And I've done that many times. So then now that we have all of our slices, just go ahead and line it up and shift it. Was that 90 degrees? No, okay, this is how it was. Yeah, 90 degrees. And then do small little slices. Here you can either do really thin and get nice little minced pieces, or you can sort of move your knife back and forth to get bigger or smaller chunks. But do you see how it's perfectly making minced diced onions? So that's a really easy trick. I see a lot of people just cut onions weird, and it's probably one of my biggest pet peeves. I don't say it out loud. Oh, I'm crying. But yeah, just seeing people cut onions, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why? This is so much easier and it's faster. So I'm probably gonna take, what is this, half a cup for the amount of onions that we have? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do probably about half a cup to 3/4 of a cup onions, and maybe just put this on the side, and we can always add it back in and see how it will taste later. Go ahead and store this in the fridge or use it in another recipe. You do you. Put that over here. Wash my hands, for they smell like onions. I've seen some different ways to stop like the crying. You can, I've heard things that you can like freeze the onion, or you put your head in the freezer if you start to cry. I just like to have a sharp knife because if you have a dull knife, it presses into the cells of the onion, and so it releases more of the onion juice and the onion fumes that make you cry. So just be sure to have a sharp knife. Boom. Let's move on to cilantro. The cilantro is pre-washed. You can, if you really want to, pick all of the cilantro leaves off. I'm not gonna do that because I don't have time, but I'm probably gonna take it halfway up where all of this cilantro stems and just sort of twist it. So because you get all of the stems off. Yeah, you can pick out those little pieces. You can pick out those little pieces of cilantro leaves if you want, and I think that I will later, depending on it. But now that you have like 90% leaves, and then if you really see these big old thick cilantro stem pieces, you can always just pick through that. But like I said, you do you. All right, so I like to sort of roll it up and get it all together, and then slice through. What is this? Probably like 1/4 of a bunch, half a bunch, depending on how big your bunches are. It's a ton of cilantro, but it will be good. And some people think that cilantro tastes like soap, and I think that's, what is that, like a genetic condition? I don't know. I don't think it tastes like soap. You can chop it up really fine, but I like this consistency, maybe a little bit finer. You see how I am not chopping like this. but I'm gathering it up and I have the blade down, put my hand on the blade to stabilize it, and then just rock back and forth. All right, clean off your blade. I really like this consistency, so I'm just gonna go ahead and plop it on top. I think cut up wise, this is probably 1/4 cup, 1/2 a cup, 2/3 of the cup, 1/3 of the cup actually. That's a good in between. And like I said, you can always add more, but you can never really take away easily. So once we got that, go ahead and get our limes. Really want to make sure that this is juiced out by rolling it on your cutting board. It's a pretty good method a lot of people have done before. And so I'm just going to go ahead and cut it in half and get my handy dandy lime squeezer. Okay, so take half a lime to start. Go ahead and line it up. Oh, don't know why that was so hard. And put it in there. And since we have a ton of ingredients, we're making a few cups. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do the whole lime. Make sure you get it all over. So at this point, because I have all my bigger ingredients mixed in, go ahead, grab a spoon. And this recipe, if you have whole garlic cloves, you can go ahead and add 1, 2. Also garlic, because it's raw, it will add a little bit of spiciness as well, like the onions. And so I don't have that. So I'm probably gonna use about a teaspoon of pre-minced garlic. Just draining off the juices. Yeah, that's about a teaspoon. There's a lot, so I'll just add another teaspoon. 1 to 2 teaspoons minced garlic. Go ahead and mix this all up. I'm gonna have a good consistency. And you can always adjust this recipe. If you like less cilantro, add less cilantro. If you like less onion, add less onion. But this is just sort of the consistency that I like. Just have nice and even, mainly tomato. It's 75% tomato. I guess technically 25%. No, that's not right. Proportions, what would you say, like 90% tomato and then probably like 10 to 5%. 5% cilantro, 5% onion. When I see it, I'm like, okay, I like that. And then I'll try it here in a sec. Oopsies. So I like this. I think this is really pretty. It's really well put in there. I'm gonna go ahead and add salt. Salt and pepper to taste. Mix that up. And I love this El Pato sauce. El Pato just means duck, so typically there's like a picture of a duck on it. Duck sauce. So when I tried looking up a homemade recipe, when I couldn't find this for like weeks, I always would look up duck sauce, but then it would come up with like a Chinese sauce, or I'm pretty sure it's Chinese. Anyways, duck sauce. I've seen these come in pouches. The original is just a red can with either vegetables or the duck on it. It's like a mallard duck, pretty sure. I don't know, not a duck enthusiast, but I'm a duck sauce enthusiast. Oh, that smells spicy. So go ahead and pour this can on it. This is 225 grams. So, okay, Google, what's 225 grams in ounces?
225 grams is equal to 7.937 ounces.
So 8 ounces. Oh, 8 ounces? 7.93 something something. So go ahead and incorporate this in. And this looks like total it made about 4 to 5 cups of salsa. But if this is 1 cup, maybe my measurements are just way off. We'll go with 6 cups. Ooh, I'm really nervous to try it now. Oh, it smells so spicy. All right, this is the first test. Make sure it smells good, tastes good. I'm liking how everything's evenly incorporated. My tomatoes aren't too large because I really like to eat this with tostadas or just chips. So yeah, make sure it's not like huge chunks of stuff all over, because eat with chips. Oh, it's got some spice. Ooh, that's incredibly spicy. I'm gonna add more salt. Oh my god, this is fire. This is really. I like spice, but this is wow. Ooh. Ooh, I'm sweating. Don't have chips, but I have tostadas. And every week I try to buy a different brand of tostadas. Very peppery. Tostada piece, which is essentially a chip. It's so fresh. This particular one is incredibly spicy. So we just stick with the original. And if the original is too spicy, I think there's like a less spice option. But this is delicious. It's really good when it's cold and then you just take it out and let the flavors settle for a little bit. But if you just eat it fresh, straight up the chopping board, it's delicious. Sweating.